Okay, I'm going to assume that what I say right now will be heard at the start of the stream. Can people hear me? That is the question. I just want to wait a bit because I know all about the delay. Waiting to see for some confirmation that people can indeed hear me. Oops. I see Immaculate Chimp and Clouded Con are in the chat, but so far... Okay, that is a good thing. Now what I should do is pop this thing out, I guess. And fiddle around with OBS so I can get it captured. That is Twitch. That's not quite what I wanted. That's not what I wanted either. Oh, bloody hell. Just bear with me for a second, because I've never really used OBS to stream before. Okay, that kinda works, but it's not really what I wanted. Oops. Well. That's not what I wanted either, but I guess it will do. You go over there. You know what? Let me just see if I can get something running, and then we'll worry about this. Add source this thing is for window capture. Oh wow. Okay. Since unfortunately it doesn't look like I can really capture the chat, I will have to be limited to... Okay, wait a minute. There we are. Well, unfortunately my mic is turned all the way up, so it must be my horribly quiet voice. Oh, hello, senior. I'm just trying to figure out what I can do here. Okay, so we have this horrible game, but I don't think it can be windowed. Let me try this one. No, that cannot be windowed either. That is never a good sign. Quit. I am not playing that. Let me see what else I have. Well, I have the shitty games, but I also have a folder with actually good games. Let me look at that one. Well, that's, I guess, to be expected, since English is not my first language either. So that's an element of correlation. I'll tell you what, I have a game down here that I think can be windowed. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm gonna mute that for the time because I don't know. There we go. That was probably too loud for comfort, if I know anything about about sound configuration and what it tends to do. Yes, do that, capture the inner window, and there we are. Okay, time to mute this. Okay, I'm going to go back to the title screen. Or close it, that could also be a thing that I do. There we are. It's too loud. Where's the acceptable volume? I'm guessing it's 4 now. I don't really have to do that. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 10% since it is a midi game. So anyway, this is, as you might have guessed, a Zelda fan game made by a French guy, I believe. So the translation is kind of amusing. So I suppose I can read it out. The kingdom of Hyrule has been in peace since Link, the last knight of Hyrule, had defeated the malicious Ganon and reclaimed the precious Triforce to him. That makes sense. Nobody knows what Link's wish to the Triforce was, but it had the effects of reunifying the light and dark world. And upraising, because that's a word, the Seven Wise Men's descendants. Next, Link had the Triforce and Master Sword over, and not the Master Sword, just Master Sword, over to Princess Zelda, and people started to believe that peace would last. But the people were wrong, as they usually are. I'm seeing that my voice is still kinda low, so I'm going to take this down even further. I hope that's better. Unfortunately, Link's wish also had negative effects. Ganon and his henchmen were resurrected and got ready to attack. Because Link is a useless idiot who doesn't think his actions through. Somewhere in Hyrule Forest, Link is sleeping without suspect that Ganon has already moved into the attack. I'm just gonna take a moment to screw around with the mic settings, see if I can turn it up any higher. Let's see, was just doobly-doo. Well, it's turned up all the way, but I think I can amplify it. Plus 10 decibels. I hope this helps. It looks like it does, judging from those green bars. Okay. Anyway, back to the game. Until and suddenly the game begins. Much like Link to the Past. And you can press F1 to console the help. Oops. Oh shit. I forgot I had the function keys in that. Okay, there we go. So this is the help. As you can see, well, probably not, because you can't read that fast. You basically use 3 buttons in this game to swing the sword, use items and pick stuff up. But you can't pick anything up yet, because we just started the game, and Link is weak as shit. But we found a shield. We can't actually use a shield, but it does raise our defense. Another cool thing, well, a cool thing, since I haven't really talked about any cool things yet, is that you can run right from the get-go. But since we don't have a weapon yet, we can't get past these bushes or do anything about that thing down there, so we have to go around it by running. Same with these 2 things right here. And lo and behold, it's a sword. Not the Master Sword, but a sword. And yes, you can charge the spin attack right from the get-go. And while this game is kind of cool, oops, something that kind of sucks is hit detection with the enemies. Because if you go right next to an enemy, you'll notice that if you get hit, it knocks you back like that. Which doesn't really help when you get a bunch of them coming at you. Oh, and as you might have seen there, it feels like enemies standing in front of each other, coming at you. You can't really knock them back. So now that we've beaten Mr. Bones, let's get into our first dungeon of the game. It's not that big, but it's gonna take a while to get through it, because there's a lot of backtracking to be done, if I remember correctly. But hey, it's Zelda, which means it's fun at all times, because it's action-adventure. Like with the bots, we can't pick this stuff up yet, but we will need to, as evidenced by the stairs that are behind them. So, predictably, The thing that we will find in this dungeon is the power bracelet, or power glove, or whatever they call it here. But in the meantime, let's just start collecting keys. And dodging enemies, because it's not really worth it to fight them at this point. Found a compass. And yes, there is another key to be found down here, I believe, that you can get right off the bat, because the room is unlocked. So let us continue our trek into the never-ending dungeon, filled with Mr. Bones and pets. And these piles of tentacles, I don't know if they have a name in canon or not. And I believe that's pretty much the only enemies there are, other than the boss. I don't have the thing yet. I just saw Senior's comment. I would say that has to be... that's kind of explainable, because people that weren't born in America have to study the language better to understand it better, but that's just something I think. I know there are lots of Americans capable of speaking as eloquently as this, or better, so I wouldn't really, what's the word for it? Attribute it to that? I know there's a better way to say it, but I can't think of it right now. So I already ran out of places to go, that's great. But you know what, that's okay, because I was only thinking of showing this for a little bit. So it is very similar to Link to the Past. All the bosses and dungeons and stuff are very much like the dungeons and the bosses in Link to the Past. But yeah, I'm going to save and quit. Because there's something else I want to show. The guy who made that game actually made several games like that, and I have them all here. The second game in the series is called... oh well, that was automatic, didn't even have to change it, that's great. Zelda Only Link Begins, and as you can tell right off the bat, this isn't really your average fan game, because the person who made it actually put effort into it. So at the end of the last game, Link beat Ganon, but something happened. The hero was brought down by a horrible curse, and he transformed into Only Link. So yes, this is basically Majora's Mask Zelda canon fanfic. No, the game is free, all three of them are. You can find the guy's website and download them. The first one is called Return of the Hylian. You can find them that way. So yeah, that is how Only Link was created. He was banished from Hyrule because he was being destructive and shit. So he got desperate, and Zelda sent him to another world to cure his being a monster, because that's how it works in the Zelda universe. So it's this way. And we have no weapons because we're dangerous when we transform ourselves, but we're getting there. And we can press F1 to see the help, but it's exactly like in the last game, so we won't have to do that. And unfortunately we can't run from the start, which is kind of a damper, but what we can do is pick stuff up right off the bat, which is very useful. So out of this cave we go, getting a shield which we can't use. And who is this? Well, that's the Lost Woods theme from Ocarina of Time. But who are we talking to? My name is Pit. Is it possible? Why yes, that is in fact the Pit you are probably thinking of, from Kid Icarus. And his house has the Underworld theme from the first Kid Icarus game, to show that it is in fact him. And we're in Termina, where Majora's Mask takes place, because that makes a lot of sense. A land which should remain secret, We should never have been sent here, but unfortunately we are a monster and we are desperate. There is a sacred object, however, in the temple in this forest that we might be able to use to lift our curse. So we cannot go to the forest, but we have to go find this object and return here to be sent back to our world. So let's get going. Those things are still rolling around. There's still a lot of Mr. Bones and spiders. So not a lot of variety just yet, but it'll get here. So unfortunately I didn't react fast enough to not get hit by that thing. But off we go, into the dungeon. Faron Temple. So it's not only Link to the Past fanfic and Majora's Mask fanfic, it's also Twilight Princess fanfic, the best kind. And as you might have noticed, we don't have a sword yet either, so we'll have to dodge enemies for now. Luckily, the game is kind of smartly designed with that in mind. We can just lure these guys over here and make them get stuck behind a rock and not be able to follow us, which is desirable. Like the other dungeon, it's not that big, but it's to be expected. Uh-oh. Oh, bollocks. Oh yeah, you might have noticed that there's something in the upper left that's slowly filling up as we take damage. That'll come into play later. For now though, we just have to dodge Mr. Bones and get back to the last locked door we were at. We should find a sword soon enough, from what I remember. That's just a shortcut back to where we came from, but this is where we have to go. God damn, I should shift my position. 1 second. My leg is gone numb. So, going back to the dungeon. Oh boy. So it's not terribly exceptional just yet, but like I said, the guy made 3 of these games. This is the second one. The first one, which was the one I showed before, was really normal, but as you can see he sort of changed it up starting here with characters from other video games. Oh yeah, I think you actually have to use... oops, shoot. You have to carry the skull all the way to the left without getting hit. Uh-oh. Well, we just turned into Oni Link, which means we can't use items. And we can't attack enemies either, which is unfortunate because we need to kill enemies to change back to normal. Shit. I need to take... well... I kind of fucked up there, but the basic premise is you need to take one of those skulls to the left to kill the tentacly thing that's behind the ledge thing, and that will unlock the door to the next area. Which is what I will try again. It's kind of tricky to do it when you only have 3 hearts. But like a good militant, I will try once more. Well, I was thinking of doing that, senior, but the thing is, I've used this microphone before and I've been told that I should get a better microphone, so I am thinking of eventually getting a better microphone and then doing that. But I can't really do that yet because I don't have enough money or well, a good reference for where to find a better microphone. And I'm getting lost because I'm kind of distracted talking about this. Well, if you guys want, I could read a spooky story or something. What the hell am I doing? That was not a smart move. Well, shoot. Shoot. Well, first let me see if I can get past this. There we are. There we are. Oh, I need to do this twice. That's fucking fantastic. But, and I died again. You know what? I think I've shown enough of this, and I am a bit tired. And I kinda just wanted to see if it was viable to have me streaming. But I'll tell you what though, if you guys want, I could read something spooky or something of the sort before I leave, because it's like midnight and I want to wake up at a reasonable hour tomorrow. Let me just see. Okay, do you guys have any recommendations? If not, I will find something. Just need to figure out where to get it from. I'll do it. Just make sure it's not too long. Suddenly I'm having a hard time finding something like that. Let me see. Wiki source. Which of these is short? No, that's okay. I just need to find something. Maybe a creepypasta, those are usually short. Microfiction, that sounds acceptable. Success stories, what are these? This is okay. I think I might have found something. Apparently there's a website with shitty creepypastas that were rewritten and improved, and the first one that pops up looks like a good length. So let me see what it's about. Central Europe, World War II. Well, this looks good, so I'm going to read it and then probably turn out. So this is called The Lost. It doesn't say who wrote it, but it was submitted very recently, and it has a 7.3 out of 10 rating based on 100. And there's a link to the original city story, which I'm going to take a quick look at, just to take a quick look at it. It looks longer. Well, the PS42 was who wrote the original. So, okay. Here we go, The Lost. My name is Claire, and I am from a small country in Central Europe. Many people have probably never heard of it. My country has everything from a small coastline on the Adriatic Sea to the majestic Alps, so Italy. Most of the landscape consists of some green hills, each with a little church on top. Almost 2/3 of my country is covered with forests, and the capital is famous for its Middle Age architecture. It is a beautiful country where most of the time nothing unusual happens. Like most people here, I live in the countryside, where my nearest neighbor is almost a quarter of a mile away. I spent most of my childhood running around the forest right by my home. I can still remember where the best trees for climbing are, and where certain flowers grow. Something happened there in the summer of 2001 I will never forget. I was around 12 years old, and I had decided to spend my whole afternoon alone in the forest. As I said, most of the country is covered in hills, and the hill behind our house is quite steep. At the top of this hill is an old orchard my great-grandfather planted, and from it you can almost see the capital city in the distance. My forest extends from the orchard across the karst, that's K-A-R-S-T, landscape, and almost right to the Italian border. So they're not in Italy? Or maybe they are in Italy, I don't know. There are a few smaller towns and villages between my home and the border, but I never really went very far from the area my family owned. On this particular day, though, I decided to explore some of the areas I had never been before. I really didn't take anything with me, and I didn't bother telling my parents where I was going. I always felt very safe in the woods, even though bears were often seen in the area. In reality, the most dangerous things you would normally come across were drunken hunters. The forest is pretty in the summer, and the leaves and tall trunks made me feel like I was in a big cathedral. I started to sing a tune I had heard on the radio, and before long, I was about an hour and a half walking distance from home. At this point, I decided to stray off the main road that leads through the forest. I'm not sure how much time passed, but I suddenly realized that the sun, with a capital S, was starting to set, and the light was making the leaves glow in sharp colors. Soon I found myself wandering in the twilight, in an area I did not know. And the wind blowing through the dry branches was making very eerie noises, and I suddenly knew I was lost. I could feel my panic beginning to rise, and the adrenaline starting to flow through my veins. My instincts were screaming to run away, but I forced myself to remain calm and tried to figure out the way back to the main road. It was pointless. I had no idea where I was. I started to walk around aimlessly, hoping to find a road, or at least a path I could follow. Suddenly I saw a figure standing in the distance, and from its size, it had to be a child. I started to walk towards it, but the child seemed to notice me and ran away. I chased after it through the forest for quite a long time, but I could never get quite close enough to actually distinguish any of its features. But it seemed to be a young girl, no older than I was at the time. As I was running after the mysterious girl, the ground suddenly gave way beneath me. I experienced that dreadful feeling of falling, like in a very bad nightmare, where time seems to slow down and everything is in slow motion. Then came the awful sound of my body hitting the ground, and pain erupted through me. For a moment, I lay motionless on the ground, trying to catch my breath. Finally, I pulled myself together and opened my eyes, waiting for them to adjust to the thick darkness in the cave where I had landed. At first, everything was pitch black, but then I began to be able to see. There was a single pair of eyes staring at me, just a few inches in front of my face. I quickly backed away, until I hit something dry and crumbly. Somewhere in the back of the cave, a light suddenly flared to life. First there was one, and then more and more, until the chamber was fully lit. There were were thousands and thousands of eyes watching me. Dead, dull eyes in dry sockets. Faces whose skin was desiccated and stretched over their skulls. Their mouths hung open, their lips having rotted and pulled back, so that it looked as if they were all screaming in rage or terror. I stared. I wasn't able to move or scream. I'm not even sure I was able to breathe. I blinked, hoping that the dreadful image in front of me would disappear. As I opened my eyes, it seemed as if all the corpses had moved. I never saw them moved, but each time I blinked, it was like they had gotten one step closer. I felt cold sweat dripping down my neck, and my eyes began to itch and water as I tried to keep them open. I couldn't help myself, and I blinked again. This time, as my eyes opened, I was completely surrounded. I simply closed my eyes, hoping this was all just a bad dream. I didn't hear a single sound, and I smiled, thinking that I would soon wake up in my own bed. When I opened my eyes, I was face to face with it. I could clearly see the dried and rotten face, eyes dim and lifeless. I started to feel dizzy and sick, and then it seemed as though I could feel something like bony hands and finger grabbing my hair and tearing at my clothes. I felt it, and then again, I didn't feel it. I was so overcome by terror, I could no longer tell what was real and what wasn't. I tried so hard to stay conscious, to fight, but I couldn't move a single muscle. Then the light suddenly went out, and it was pitch black all around me. I opened my eyes, trying to adjust to the lack of light. Again. I was lying on the forest floor, not far from my home. At that moment, my body started to function normally, and I ran home as fast as I could. I had no idea how I had gotten there, and I just wanted to forget about what had happened. I was so happy to be home and safe, but my peace didn't last very long. The next night, I had a dream about the people I had seen in the cave. I woke with a start and saw a face looking at me through the window. In the moonlight, the features of the face were much easier to make out than they had been in the darkness of the cave. It was the face of a young girl. She was dead, and her empty eyes stared at me with wild anger as she clawed the window, trying to get in. Since then, I have had the same nightmare of the girl, clawing to get through my window every night. It has been 12 years now, and in that time I have gone to many different therapists. They tell me it is just stress from school and work, and that I should try to relax. How can I relax when every night I am afraid to open my eyes, for fear that she will be there trying to get me? And after that it says, it is a known fact that after World War II, the communists took over the government, and thousands of people who refused to cooperate with the new system were killed. Men and women were walled up alive in abandoned mines, or shot and buried in mass grave sites. Some of them were part of my family. Our government still refuses to talk about this, and almost none of the people responsible were ever punished. The end. So what I gleaned from that is that Steve killed a bunch of people and buried them next to this girl's house, and she fell in the grave and saw them and got spooked, as would be expected. But anyway, I'd never really done a reading of this length before, so I could not have anticipated that my throat suddenly feels very, very dry, so I think I'm going to kill it here. So, a lot of thanks to the people that turned up. I'm seeing 4 of them in the chat right now. I might be able to do this later. I don't think I'll be able to do this for another while, since I'm currently traveling and the internet I have here is actually a lot better than the internet I have at home, but we'll see. So I will see you a lot later. Thanks a lot and goodbye.